In this video on Dorico 3.0, we are going to take a look at the new Grouped Plane Techniques feature. There's actually 3 different ways to create these. You can use step time input, so create them on the fly. You can add group plane techniques to a selection, and you can group existing plane techniques that are not yet grouped. In fact, you can ungroup them as well. Let's start with step time input. I'm going to go ahead and double click to get my caret. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type Shift P for my plane techniques popover and type in a plane technique. And at the end of this, with no spaces, I'm going to add a minus sign and the right bracket for a continuation arrow icon. I'm going to hit return, and let me select eighth notes here. I'm going to play a little bit. And you can see the continuation line is automatically being added. And this will work if you would add rest. So I'm using my space bar to advance. I can go further. If I want to stay in step edit input but get out of this technique, I can hit Shift P, type in the question mark, hit return, and this will allow me to keep entering notes without that technique. You can go from one plane technique to another as well. Let me back up to the beginning of bar 3 here, and I'm doing the same thing. Shift P, we'll do sol pont again with the continuation arrow, and we'll type in some eighth notes here. And let's say at this point I want to change to a different plane technique or cancel this out. I could do Shift P again. I could type in ORD to return to ordinary plane, hit return, and of course I could keep playing at this point in time. You can also extend this command right here, whatever it might be. Let's go ahead and redo these 2 measures here. So typing in sol pont with the continuation arrow, hitting return, playing a few notes. And now I'm going to say, let's do sol tasto. Again, the popover with the continuation arrow, hit return, and we can play along. And you can see we get our continuation arrow there. So those are the ways you can work with it in step time input. If you already have your notes written and you'd like to add plane techniques, it's pretty fast. Let me go ahead and select these to delete them, holding down my command key here on the Mac and deleting all of them. And this is done by selection. So I'm going to create a selection here that is a range of notes, which will be the extent of my plane technique. I'm going to go Shift P, type in my plane technique, and then add the continuation arrow. I'm going to hit return, and it does it for me at this time. Let me go ahead and select from this note to this note, and I'm going to go Shift P, and at this point in time, I'll do sol pont with the continuation arrow and add sol tasto. I'll hit return, and it groups them. Sol pont, sol tasto. Now, let's talk about the little handles. A little easier to see over here, perhaps. You can see we have an end of the line, which we can adjust here. The beginning of the position of the technique, which we can also adjust here. You can do these, as you can see I'm doing, clicking and dragging, or you can use arrows. Option and the right or left arrow move the technique en masse by divisions. If you add Shift plus Option or Alt, you can change the length of the line. However, if you have group techniques, you can't change this arrow. So let's go up to Edit, Plane Techniques, Ungroup Plane Techniques, and now I could modify this. I'm going to use my key command Shift, Alt, or Option. Bring that around. I can move this, click and drag if I'd like, make that a little more accurate. Now I can regroup. Command click on this, go up to Edit, Plane Techniques, Group Plane Techniques, and we have the continuation line that goes right into the next technique. Lastly, you have a choice of, within your plane techniques here, of removing a plane technique from the group. You need to select a specific one to make that work. So let's go ahead and do this. And we get a result like that. You can refine the look of your continuation lines within engrave mode. Let me go up here and modify these, and you can see we can actually do some fun stuff, not necessarily aesthetic, but fun. Playing, moving things around as need be here to something that may or may not be more appealing to what you need to do. You also have the properties panels. Command 8 on the Mac opens this up, and you can see with these selected, I have a huge array of choices through here, including some simple ones such as placement above and below the staff. And you have a choice of alternative text here. You can see here we have continuation type as well. We turn that on and we can see none, simile, or line for these. And if we go into write mode, we have just a few of these here, so not a lot. We have editing choices for the continuation lines and engraving options. Shift-Command-E on the Mac. And to navigate down to plain techniques, selecting this, selecting continuation. You can adjust the distance or gap between both text and glyphs. And you have settings for distance between a chord and bar lines. You can also choose your look over a system break. Let me hit escape to get out of this. Additionally, if we go into engrave mode, engrave menu, plain techniques, regardless of what technique you select here, you now have a continuation tab that gives you a number of choices here. You have your continuation type, which you also have in the properties panel. None, simile, line, or repeat the signs. You have a duration line look. You have quite a few choices here, including wavy and wiggly lines. And you can choose alignment above and alignment below. These menus are redundant. You have a transition line. You can choose what that looks like. The default is a solid arrowhead. And again, you have the same alignment above and alignment below here. Now, these menu choices will change depending on what you have selected here. And you can see here we have half X height, for example, on above and below here. Let me hit escape to get out of that. And that's all I'd like to cover. And we'll catch you on the next one.